Welcome back. Currently in Dakar, Senegal, stakeholders from all over Africa are in attendance at a workshop under the theme Implementation of AMR National Action Plans, which will come to a close on 13th July. A global action plan provides a framework for developing national action plans, including key actions that various stakeholders should take within a certain period. We are joined now by Dr. Walter Fuller, Antimicrobial Stewardship and Awareness Lead at WHO Regional Office for Africa, to discuss with us the importance of this workshop and what the outcomes will mean for the African continent. Dr. Fuller, thank you so much for joining us. So excited to engage you this evening.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Please explain to us, Doctor, what exactly the acronym AMR stands for and what it means in terms of human, plant and environmental health.
AMR stands for antimicrobial resistance. And when we talk of antimicrobial resistance, this refers to the ability of microorganisms, be they viruses, parasites, bacteria, fungi, to withstand the effects of medicines that are normally used to kill them or inhibit their growth.
And what brings about...
And with regards to...
Please continue, Doctor.
Go ahead, please.
No, please continue.
And this is a major problem, whether we are talking about human health, animal health, or environmental health. Because what is happening right now is that the medicines that were once effective against these microbes, be they in the human health sector, in the animal or plant sector, are now not as effective.
Doctor, perhaps you can talk to us about what brings about antimicrobial resistance. What are the key causes or contributing factors?
Well, one of the main causes is the misuse and abuse of antimicrobials. One may say by who? By all of us. If you've not adhered to your prescribed dose as prescribed by a medical professional, you might be contributing to this problem. If we are using them excessively in the areas of agriculture, animal husbandry, farming, then we might be contributing to the problem. If we are going to street corners and buying medicines without the proper prescription or in the unregulated sector, then we are indeed contributing to this problem. Mm-hmm. So there are a whole host of factors that indeed do contribute to antimicrobial resistance.
The Global Action Plan on AMR was adopted by the WHO in 2015. Talk to us about, what strides have been made in the 8 years since to implement the plan.
Well, when the Global Action Plan was adopted, we had very few countries, I think not up to 10 at that time, who had national action plans and were actively implementing. To date, we have about 45 countries in the Afro region with national action plans, 33 of those approved by national authorities. That indeed is improvement from where we were 8 years ago. Additionally, a lot of countries are implementing critical activities, be they in the education and awareness sector, the surveillance and laboratory sector, in the area of antimicrobial stewardship interventions to optimize the use of these antimicrobials. There is ongoing research in this area also. So across the different sectors, be it in the human health sector, the environment sector, the agricultural sector, the animal sector, there are a whole host of interventions that countries are putting in place. Of course, there is still a lot to be done, but we think from where we were 8 years ago, countries have made significant progress.
Mm-hmm. What would the next steps be, Doctor, to have these countries, implement these national action plans?
Indeed, this meeting was actually aimed at serving one of the purposes you just mentioned. We wanted to see where countries are so far and also discuss on ways in which countries can further catalyze and accelerate NAP implementation. Because if we don't understand where we have been, what the challenges and the gaps are within our respective countries, then it will be difficult to actually move forward. And so, indeed, this meeting served as a purpose to enable us to come together, assess our progress as a region, as member states, and then determine what are some of the key areas where we need to improve moving forward.
On that note, Doctor, what are some of the challenges faced by individual countries to conceptualize and implement the changes that are necessary to have a positive impact and to counter the development of AMR?
One of the major impacts, as discussed during this lessons learning workshop, was the fact that there is still not enough political will. We need our leaders to be able to understand that this is a major issue. The Lancet report of 2019 that conducted that recently came out showed that almost 4.5 million people are at risk of death from attributable AMR risk, and therefore this is quite significant. And a large majority of those persons are from the African region. Therefore, there is a significant threat, not just to the lives that are going to be lost, but the overall development of our member states. And therefore, it is very, very important that this political will be galvanized to secure the necessary investment and to support those technical officers who are on the ground working to ensure that we effectively address this problem. Without that political will, support for effective implementation will be difficult. Also, we note that governance and effective coordination is also a risk to effective implementation. And so this also needs to be addressed. And in this area, we at WHO are trying to carry out capacity building in the area of leadership and multi-sectoral skills that those within this area can effectively deploy to support effective coordination towards implementation. Investment is also very important. Less than 5% of our member states have dedicated financing to AMR. This is not sustainable because even with external financing, local financing is critical and important so that when the time comes when those external finances are not there, these activities that we are currently implementing, the structures we are putting in place will be sustainable.
Doctor, we understand Namibia too formed part of the workshop, but please talk to us about the steps Namibia has taken to mitigate the impact of AMR.
I think we all know that Namibia has a national action plan on AMR. And I was in Namibia in April when there was a stakeholder workshop to indeed accelerate, to get the stakeholders to understand what the issues are and to help accelerate NAP implementation. And it was very important to note that there were a number of significant activities going on in most of the sectors. I don't think this is where we want it to be yet, but I think
Oh, Dr. Fuller, can you hear us?
From Namibia to also speak on what the national profile looks like in terms of AMR implementation.
Well, Doctor, it seems technology wants to get the best of us here, but before that, just briefly, your final remarks this evening.
Well, I am very happy about this workshop that was able to bring together about 26 to 27 member states. The discussions were rich. Namibia was present. And I think the recommendations that we are going to put forward from this meeting should guide us as member states because these are not recommendations from WHO or the quadripartite that was responsible for organizing this activity, but these are recommendations from member states themselves. And so we hope that they will use these recommendations to help in accelerating AMR implementation in their respective member states, because as you know, AMR has no borders. And so we all are involved in this. It is all of our problem. We all have caused it. And so we all must come together, united against AMR, antimicrobial resistance. Thank you.
Dr. Walter Fuller, thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
That was Dr. Fuller joining us from Dakar, Senegal this evening. We'll take a brief break. We'll be right back.